I am all aboard the France hype train. I like this selection a lot. Fabien Galthie has named his team that will play Japan this weekend. Looks to be a bit of a one-sided matchup, doesn't it? And I fully expect France to put 50 points on Japan, maybe more. It will be a beatdown. The big question is, how much of this selection is Fabien Galthie rotating players, and how much of it is a run out of the team or the majority of the team that he then wants to follow up and send out to play New Zealand and the following week, Argentina? That's the big question, because it feels like there's a changing of the guard for France here. Some very significant selections on this one. Your thoughts in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe as well. It's worth pointing out the unavailable players. Romain Ntamack being the most high profile one. We still, in French colours, are not getting to see Antoine Dupont and Romain Ntamack together, which just pains me. Those two players together are chef's kiss, as we've seen for Toulouse. But Romain Ntamack unavailable. Cyril Bay, loosehead prop, also unavailable. He would absolutely be in the team as well. Awini Atonio also out. He would probably be in, more than likely starting. But it's actually tight head prop where some of the most exciting selections are. I'll get onto that in a minute. But when I looked back at the team which played in the quarterfinal of the Rugby World Cup against South Africa, and the players that were involved in that squad who are not involved now have been sent back to their clubs to play as France play Japan. Cameron Woki, Anthony Gelonch, Charles Olivant, Matthew Jalibert, Jonathan Danty, Gail Fickou is on the bench, was in the starting lineup. Dorian Aldegheri, Sekou Makalu, Roman Taufifenua. That's 9 players that were either starting in that game that are now on the bench or not. Well, let's say 8, that were either starting in that game that are now on the bench or out the squad completely. 9 players out of 23 gone from 1 year ago. And some exciting new blood. I mentioned tight head prop. Let me take you through some of these new players. I've been hyping this guy up for ages. Aviron Bayonnet is kind of my team in the top 14. That's the team I follow. And Tevita Tatafu is an absolute beast. 22 years of age, and he's only just turned 22. 140 kilos, tight head prop. He can scrummage. He's an explosive ball carrier. He jackals over the ball. This kid has got it all. He is Tongan by birth. He moved to France when he was 17. His dad was playing in France. And his cousin, who is also called Tevita Tatafu, also plays in France. He plays for Bordeaux and for Japan. So he will, I think the other Tevita Tatafu is on the bench for Japan, but we have Tevita Tatafu up against Tevita Tatafu, which is just pretty cool. This guy, though, he's going to be the future of that number 3 shirt for France for a long time. I'm so excited that he's starting. And he's starting ahead of Georges-Henri Colomb, the 26-year-old La Rochelle tight head prop, who's new to the international stage himself. So France, and he's another 140 kilo monster. So even though France are seeing the last embers of the Awini Atonio era, they've got some giant men ready to take their spot. And very exciting to see Tatafu make his debut and start this weekend. Mani Meafu has had some injuries. He's there in the second row with Flamont. That just looks classy. And their Toulouse teammates are on the flanks as well. And this is the next significant selection. Charles Olivant is back at playing club rugby this weekend. And Alexander Roumain is playing the Toulouse flanker, 27 years of age. So he's not as young as some of the other guys. He has gradually, his stock has been rising. And that performance in the Champions Cup final at number 8 for Toulouse was absolutely magnificent. The guy has been growing as a force. Charles Olivant was one of the first names on the team sheet for years. Is he going to come back in and play against New Zealand next week? Or is Roumain now the man for that 7 jersey for France? That's going to be such a fascinating one to watch. Again, I don't know what Fabien Galthie's thinking is here. It looks to me, I think he's picking a team that could go back-to-back, play against Japan, and next week play against New Zealand. I don't think this is experimentation and rotation. I may be completely wrong on that. And with that, let's move to the halfback pairing where Toma Ramos. It's been talked about for a while that Ramos could be wearing the 10 jersey. He's got a bit of a club partnership going on there with Dupont at Toulouse. Matthew Jalibert on the bench. Now, Jalibert is a great player. And you've got this makes a lot of sense to me. You've got the two Bordeaux halfbacks, Luku and Jalibert, who play together all the time. And you've got Dupont and Ramos, who play together all the time. But also, when you think back to the World Cup last year, when it really, really mattered, Jalibert came up just a bit short, didn't he, in that big match against France. And I think, had Romain Ntamack been available for France, they probably beat South Africa by a point rather than lose by a point. Equally, you could say the same thing for South Africa for players like Malcolm Marks that weren't available. So, swings and roundabouts. But my point being, Jalibert is outstanding, but he's not quite elite at the very top level. Ramos, maybe that partnership with Dupont, maybe that's what they're going for there. Centres is where it's really interesting. Yoram Moefana starting above Gael Fickou. I didn't see that coming. Moefana's basically been on the bench for however many years. He's starting in this game. Is that rotation or is that a sign of things to come? Gael Fickou's still got gas in the tank. He's only 30, made 90 caps. He'll be around for a while, but could be a changing in the guard. I think that's how I would describe this French selection. And Emilien Guéton, outside centre, this kid he's got everything. 21 years of age, plays at Section Palois, Po, and he's been brilliant for a few years now. He went on the summer tour with the French team and looked really good. He has played before. He played just before the World Cup. He was involved in the World Cup squad, and it was looking like it was going to be him or Nicolas Deportier who was going to be the next cab off the rank for the centre position for France. Well, Deportier is injured now. Guéton gets his chance. I think this could be the start of his reign at outside centre for France. I absolutely love this kid. He is so good. Just smooth and silky, deceptively quick, and a great rugby brain. So I've got high hopes for Guéton. But that means that Jonathan Danty is back at La Rochelle. And again, what a great player he's been for France over the years. I think this is not Danty getting a rest. I think this is a changing of the guard. I may be wrong. And Leo Barre at the final one at fullback. He has played, he made a couple of starts in the Six Nations. He's made a handful of caps for France already. He's now got the starting job again. And I think this is, as I say, a changing of the guard, not rotation. I think this is Fabien Galthie picking what he thinks is his strongest 15, 23, maybe with one or two exceptions, but for the most part, I think this is as strong as Fabien Galthie thinks he's got. And if that is the case, very, very interesting and potentially very exciting times for France ahead. They've got a nice balance in that pack of just giant men. Malvaka, Tatafu, Meafu, huge. And big lads coming off the bench with Marchand and Colombe as well. Guillard, I should mention as well. Michael Guillard plays second row for Lyon. He made his first appearances for France in the summer with their development kind of team going to Argentina. He's now got himself a opportunity for a proper full-bore test cap. Can he do enough to earn himself a start or a bench spot next week? That's going to be an interesting one to watch as well. He's a really good ball carrier and runner. He's early 20s as well. France's depth and talent is just astounding. Probably along with South Africa, they've got the biggest and most talented pool of players in the world. They've got to start delivering on that promise. I'm really excited to see them play against Japan. I think, like I say, France by at least 50 points and then roll on New Zealand. That should be an absolute banger of a match. Your thoughts down below. I'll see you on the next video.